Muturi, NIS abducted my son and freed him only after Ruto call. We're in January 2025. This incident happened on the 25th of June 2024. We have not heard so much as a peep out of Justin Muturi until 3 days ago, when he decided to talk about this. So even as we go into the story, that's something to keep on the back burner of your mind. Why is he speaking about this now?
7 months later, to be specific.
Is it because there is a rise in temperature of the talks around abductions and he felt that he needed to throw his opinion into the basket? Or what exactly is happening? Can we rid ourselves of any kind of political speculation when things like this are said or done? All right. Now, Public Service and Human Capital Development Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi yesterday placed the abductions nightmare on President William Ruto and National Intelligence Service doorstep, saying that the latter abducted his son in June and only released him after a call from the president, the latter being NIS. The fingering of the NIS in his official statement to the police puts Mr. Muturi, a former National Assembly Speaker who ditched President Uhuru Kenyatta to side with President Ruto in the 2022 election, on a collision path with the state. The statement also throws a spanner in the works in the mystery of the ongoing abductions. So with what he said, then one would think that NIS is involved in the abductions that took place even after Leslie Muturi was abducted. Now, the government has denied the kidnappings were being undertaken by the state, but the president and senior officials have warned parents and the youth to avoid social media truancy, a key issue seen by human rights activists as a reason for the kidnappings. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has said about 82 Kenyans, including Mr. Muturi's son Leslie Muturi, had been abducted since June 2024, with more than 20 still missing. 5 of those abducted in late December were released last week, most of them having been linked to anti-government social media posts. So now, yesterday, in a statement he filed with the police, Muturi narrated how he reached out to senior government officials to help locate his son, to no avail. And when that didn't happen, he had to basically go to the highest voice in the land and say, hey, somebody's got my son. And from his statement, basically what happened was that there was a phone call. And it was then confirmed that yes, indeed, we have him. Okay, let him go. And they did. Questions as to why he had him? Don't know. The former Attorney General said he personally called the then Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithiru Kindiki. He called Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo. He called NIS Director General Nurdin Haji, and then Inspector General of Police Japheth Kome, Directorate of Criminal Investigations Boss Mohammed Amin, Anti-Terrorism Protection Unit Boss Said Kiprotich Mohammed, and Mr. Amin's Deputy John Onyango, desperately looking for his son. He called all of these people before he finally had to call the president. He said it took a call by President Ruto to Mr. Haji, who had been ducking his calls for 2 days, to have Leslie released. So according to this, he had called Nurdin Haji. Haji had not spoken to him, but then when the president spoke to him, Gafla bin Vu, his son was found and released. So there are many pots boiling at this time. Abductions continue. There's warnings about them. But then 2 days ago, Justin Muturi decides to speak out about this, and one must ask, why has he decided to speak about this now? Why did he not say on June 28th, when his son was brought back home, hey guys, this is actually what happened? Was he still trying to come to terms with the situation?
7 months later. 7
months later now he's speaking about this. Or has the bug bit him as well, where he says, hold on a minute, this abduction story cannot continue in Kenya? Or is there some kind of political rift that is taking place here, where he's decided, you know what, I have something against you and I'm going to use it?
The way I look at it is, as a parent, Justin Muturi's stress levels were high at that point when the son was abducted. The reason why he was running all over the place trying to find his son to come back home. It's the reason why he was calling the NIS director, calling Mohammed Amin, the DCI director, going to the president, because at that point his stress levels were high. That, according to me, in my own opinion, would have been when he spoke about the abductions that continue, because it is not only his son that was abducted, other Kenyans have been abducted as well. But we're talking about him talking about matters to do with abduction 7 months later. And let's just go back. Would it be a political gimmick? Because we also know that he went to Mount Kenya, tried to read the president's condolence messages, and he was shouted down by the locals. And the same event, the immediate former deputy president, the second deputy president of the republic, has been talking about matters to do with abductions, calling upon the government to stop abducting Kenyans and accepting to be corrected by Kenyans. Now, is it that he went back home, the ground is volatile, and I have to make a decision because I am a career politician, I need votes from back home?
Maybe we live in interesting times. Who would have thought just a couple of months ago that the immediate former deputy president would now be the chief opposition leader in the country?
I'm telling you.
Who would have thought?
In your wildest of imagination.
Yes. Yeah. ODM, step aside.
Yeah.
One-man opposition.
Yeah.
Regarding Gachagua. That man is speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking.
He's even telling you the nuances, and he's telling you, if you see the president sitting and shaking his leg in a particular way, this is what he's actually telling you. Because I was there. I used to see them every day. I understand him in and out. I know what he's doing.
You know, without sounding alarmist, the backyard of the immediate former deputy president did vote for this particular presidency.
Yes,
they did.
They did their bit, and by every indication, they have been disappointed, thoroughly so.
Are they disappointed because he was kicked out, or are they disappointed because of how the country is being run?
Usually, politics and campaignings are based on promises the world over. And when promises are made, there are those who expect that the promises should be kept. And there are those who anticipate that if they're not kept, they should at least talk about it and say, folks, this is what we said. When we got here, we realized this thing can't actually work. So again, the communication team that the presidency had failed them, because they should have messaged this. They kept saying, oh, we found the coffers empty. That doesn't communicate or tell us anything. And it doesn't tell us anything, especially when you keep telling us the coffers are empty and you keep buying new things. And not just new expensive things.
Let me just add on that, especially when the deputy president was, the former deputy president was in that office, he was buying curtains worth millions of shillings.
Yes. Renovations costing tens and hundreds of millions. I'm saying, look, you can't tell us on the one hand we as a country don't have money. Then we as a country that you represent and voted for you have money to spend. We say, wait, this is double speak.
No, but let me ask you, how do you think these guys actually see Kenyans? I really want to understand. How do you think they actually regard Kenyans? That you can speak one way today, and then 3 short months later, you can speak completely different. I actually believe that the human mind, human logic, it is possible for you to possess and inhabit 2 contrary opinions in your mind at the same time. And
yes,
I think you can. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
You can.
That you can think this way on a particular issue, and you can think the opposite on a particular issue, and those 2 thoughts can reside in your mind.
Yes, they can.
However,
come on.
When you're in a position of leadership, that your speech will sway the thoughts, mind, beliefs of other people, and that you can come out and vehemently defend something, because now we're talking about issues of right, wrong. We're talking about issues of life, death. That you can vehemently now come and defend the absolute opposite side. Now we're talking about issues of creed, belief, morality, right, wrong. There is when I have the issue and I have to say, hold on a minute. These are not dissenting opinions or dissenting voices. This is a fundamental belief that you are now saying it has changed. So, do we see you as a wishy-washy person? Or do we see that you were lying to us in the beginning? Or did we see that we knew the truth and you were concealing it because you wanted to be on the right side of rain?
There's also the consideration that you think you are taken for a ride. Now that pains a little more.
Or that, or now, should we believe now that you are telling the truth?
We've been had. You see, there's a certain anger that presupposes certain happenings. One of them is that You thought you had an upper hand, and then you realize, lo and behold, you don't.
You don't even have a hand.
Yeah.
No, you don't have a hand. You're handless. And then there is something which you believed with all sincerity that you are in control over, and then again, lo and behold, it turns out that
My friend,
you are never in control.
you're not even in the room.
Yeah, you're not even in the room. And then
Yes, because the things you mentioned, there are people who feel if we support this government and they have not kept their word, why should we continue supporting them? And it is a valid question. Why should we continue supporting them? What I think is that these conversations for our country are wonderful.
very.
When you find people coming out, people who you didn't expect to come out and say things, coming out and saying things, you should sit back and ask, what exactly is happening here?
You must ask, if you have the head of the PDU resigning, and what are the reasons why he resigned? What did he say? He said that it is not possible for him to operate and continue to do his job, to essentially deliver, when you have the positions of political turmoil that we are currently seeing.
Yeah.
But it is clear that nothing is going to get done. So I will not be the one whose name will be attached to
failure. Because I have done that before elsewhere, it has worked, and there is no way we shall have different centers of power trying to deliver. Let us collapse everything so that we have a single point to address these issues.
We should expect more of the same. Yeah, because if the center isn't holding, Chinua Achebe put it very well, then what happens?
things fall
Things
apart.
fall apart.
Yep. And when things fall apart, you will find that there will be need to now bring in more people into the government.
And then you have to ask, who's going to put Humpty Dumpty together again? If all the king's men...
Harold Maliba was here and asked a very valid question. There was a plan that UDA had.
Yeah.
Bottom up.
Yep.
Now you bring in new people. Do they have the same plan as you?
Vision even. Do they share your vision?
Yes. So how are they supposed to deliver this thing which you had a plan for?
This is interesting because Gloria Robwa asked the same question yesterday. How do you bring in people who are not vision bearers?
No, they're not.
To deliver.
Or are we saying that
plan?
in this country, magically, the moment someone is appended into government, then their vision immediately becomes the government? But we have seen, Opio and I sang some very interesting songs not long after he said, Danny thing, you know what I mean? This thing,
this thing is
stay.
yeah.
And then it didn't stay. Okay, so it means his singing was discordant with the actual song itself. But it tells you that there's something about our people, and there's something about how we respond and react when we're given positions of authority and power. And there's something about how it is when money is dangled before us. It's been said that the matter regarding the finance bill, that money had been dished out.
Yes.
It has been said that the matter regarding the impeachment of the deputy president, money. Now, I feel that much as abhorrent as it is, you do not need a microscope to see this.
No.
These are the leaders. We have these, the ones you see, the ones who take money to do all manner of things. That's them. And even if these things work against you, the person who elected them, they will personalize the issue, and the personalization is, what am I getting for it?
That's not.
Yes, exactly. And so they do not have the moral position to stand and speak against this particular government.
Thank you.
They don't. Because they've been in bed. Same goes with the deputy. He was in bed with this government doing all the things. Now all of a sudden he has a Damascus moment. No.
How do you convince people, and this is what I'm saying, on the fundamental issues of creed, your soul, your center, your soul, you cannot come and tell me that now that has changed specifically. Like I said, you can have dissenting opinions about a matter in your head. You can. But on the issues of centered belief that you can change in a very short period of time, I'm going to ask a few questions about you.
And we must ask those questions because, you see, today we're talking about matters to do with abductions, touches on the security of the country. Now, let's go back to when Raila Odinga was stoned along as Kamkunji was going to town. At that point, President William Ruto was not here. The immediate former deputy president was there. And we know what he had said. We will deal with these demonstrators.
He did.
We are in charge. We will deal with them. Today, he is talking about another issue in the government that he started at that point, because when all these abductions were happening, he was the deputy president.
Yes.
And at that point, immediately after Parliament was run over, what did he do? Held a press conference in Mombasa castigating the NIS.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
No, he went to town. On the NIS issue,
Yes.
he did go to town.
He did
on
go
it.
to town.
But remember also, this is the same gentleman who not long after they had been sworn in was indicted at Veta County.
Yes.
And he brought in a subject that has never left us. The shares.
Yeah.
It is him.
Yeah.
So we are saying that all that has gone away. He's now a new person.
Or that the things that he was saying, he actually didn't believe them, and he was just saying them
For the sake
some
of
kind
saying them.
You know, I have nothing to say, let me say them. How do you divorce those things that an individual said from the person, and then now believe that this new coat of many colors that he's wearing is actually what he is? How do you do that? How do you separate the two?
I actually don't even separate the two. I just ask, what are the circumstances under which he was speaking then, and what are the circumstances under which he's speaking now? But he also tells you this is a person you can't rely on.
This is it.
That's flip-flopping at its very best.
Look, on the matters to do with shares, now that he's out of the government, seems like he does not have any shares, and therefore things like he must speak for those who do not have shares.
So now you want to be a shareholder again, and then now that's how you want to make your way back in.
When you're saying things that people were saying for the longest time, people had angst and issues against the government. They said, look, cost of living. This cost of living thing, it has been an issue from the time this government took over. These are among the things they had said they would look into and sort. The reason why the talking continued because they were not sorted, and as we speak, they have not been sorted out.
Imagine, and I'm really going to some, but imagine a situation whereby, political aspirations or obligations aside, that a deputy president, if he truly did believe that the housing project was difficult for Kenyans, if he truly did believe that abductions were wrong, if he truly believed that the cost of living was through the roof, a deputy president who ran on a ticket with the president will open his mouth and say, you know what, guys, the way we are going is actually wrong, we must protect Kenyans. Can you imagine what would have actually been the case?
Yes.
If he truly believes what he's saying now, at that time, if he had opened his mouth to speak at that moment, do you think things would not have gone totally differently?
Would have.